The playground was empty except for the girl trembling behind the swings and the roar of motorcycles circling like wolves. What this 9-year-old did next would expose a dangerous criminal operation and prove that heroes come in the smallest packages. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The morning air in Riverside carried the scent of cut grass and diesel fumes. Spring had arrived gently, painting the small suburban streets with dogwood blossoms and lengthening shadows. Jefferson Elementary sat at the edge of town, where residential calm met industrial neglect. Children's laughter echoed across cracked asphalt during recess, fading into silence by 3:15 each afternoon. Lily Martinez walked this route alone every day, 9 years old, small for her age. She carried a purple backpack that seemed too large for her narrow shoulders. Her dark hair fell across a face that rarely smiled. A small scar marked her left eyebrow, a remnant from a night 2 years ago when her father's anger had shattered more than just dishes. He was gone now, locked away where shouting couldn't reach her anymore. But fear had learned to follow her anyway. She kept her eyes down most days, counted cracks in the sidewalk, avoided eye contact with strangers. Her mother, Elena, worked double shifts at County General, nursing patients through pain Lily understood too well. They managed, barely. The apartment was clean but sparse, love abundant but time scarce. Lily had learned to be invisible. It felt safer that way. 3 blocks from school, the corner store marked her halfway point. She usually bought a fruit cup there, speaking only to hand over exact change. The owner, Mrs. Chen, knew her by sight, offering occasional smiles that Lily returned with quick nods. But lately, something had changed. Motorcycles appeared. Always 3 of them at first, parked diagonal across the street. Chrome gleaming, engines rumbling even when idling. Men in leather vests watched her pass, faces hidden behind sunglasses and bandanas. They never spoke, never moved, just watched. Lily walked faster on those days. Across town, Officer Sarah Brennan guided Thor through his paces at the Riverside Community Center. The German Shepherd moved with precision, responding to hand signals with mechanical efficiency. Flat palm meant stay. Closed fist meant alert. 2 fingers pointed down meant help needed. Sarah had taught these signals 1,000 times, to dozens of canines over 12 years. But Thor was different, special. He had belonged to someone else first. The community center's gymnasium smelled of floor wax and rubber mats. Folding chairs lined the walls where parents sat watching their children learn about police dogs. Sarah demonstrated commands while Thor performed flawlessly, his black and tan coat glossy under fluorescent lights. A distinctive white patch marked his chest, irregular like spilled paint. Sarah was 34, but felt older. Grief had a way of adding years that mirrors couldn't show. Her husband Daniel had died 3 years ago during a traffic stop gone wrong. Thor had been his partner. The dog had tried to save him, taking a bullet meant for Daniel's vest. It hadn't been enough. The department reassigned Thor to Sarah afterward. Some said it was mercy. Others called it practical. Sarah knew it was penance. Every day with Thor reminded her of what she'd lost. But letting him go would mean losing Daniel twice. So she endured. And Thor endured with her. She lived alone in a small house with a fenced yard, drove an unmarked patrol car that smelled like dog treats and gun oil, spent weekends running canine demonstrations for kids who squealed with delight when Thor retrieved tennis balls or found hidden objects. She hadn't planned on loving this work, but children's laughter had become a kind of medicine. Today's session was winding down when Lily Martinez appeared in the doorway, small, hesitant, clutching that purple backpack like a shield. Elena had signed her up last week, hoping it might help her daughter's anxiety. Sarah noticed the girl immediately, recognized the body language of someone carrying invisible weight. Thor noticed too. During the final demonstration, Sarah released Thor to interact freely with the children. He usually gravitated toward the loudest kids, the ones throwing balls and shouting his name. But today, he walked directly to Lily, who stood apart from the group near the windows. The dog sat beside her without prompting, stared up at her face, waited. Lily's hand moved slowly, hesitantly touching the white patch on his chest. Thor leaned into her palm. Sarah watched from across the room, curious but not concerned. Dogs sense things humans missed: anxiety, sadness, fear. Whatever Thor sensed in Lily made him stay close for the entire remaining session. When parents collected their children, Sarah approached. Elena was running late, stuck in traffic, according to a hurried text message. Lily sat on a folding chair, Thor's head resting on her lap. "He likes you," Sarah said gently. Lily nodded but didn't speak. "Do you have dogs at home?" A headshake, no words. Sarah crouched down to eye level. "You know those hand signals I showed everyone? Those work even if you can't talk. Even if you're scared. Thor understands. Prefers them better than he understands words." Lily's eyes lifted briefly. Interest flickered there. "Flat palm means stay," Sarah demonstrated. "Fist means something's wrong. 2 fingers down means I need help right now." The girl's hands moved, mimicking the gestures with surprising precision. Thor watched her fingers intently. "That's perfect," Sarah said. "You're a natural." The smallest smile ghosted across Lily's face before disappearing. Elena arrived 20 minutes later. Apologetic and exhausted. Sarah assured her it was fine, watched them leave together. Mother's hand protectively on daughter's shoulder. Lily glancing back once at Thor. The dog whined softly as they disappeared through the doors. Sarah drove home as sunset painted Riverside in amber and shadow. She passed Jefferson Elementary, the corner store. Neighborhoods transitioning from maintained to neglected. Her radio crackled occasionally with dispatcher chatter. Nothing urgent. Nothing requiring response. Just another quiet evening in a town that pretended danger didn't live in its forgotten corners. But Thor stared out the window intently as they passed certain intersections. Ears forward, muscles tense. Sarah had learned to trust his instincts even when her own eyes saw nothing wrong. "What is it, boy?" she asked. He whined again, paws pressing against the door. Sarah made a mental note of the location. Circled back through those streets twice more before heading home. Nothing visible, no obvious threats. But Thor's unease lingered, infecting her own thoughts with shapeless worry. At home, she fed him and reviewed incident reports on her laptop. Petty theft, vandalism, noise complaints, the usual small-town problems. Nothing alarming, nothing connecting to a 9-year-old girl with scared eyes and a purple backpack. Still, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she'd missed something important. Thor slept at the foot of her bed that night, restless in dreams. His paws twitched. Soft growls rumbled from his chest. Sarah reached down, resting her hand on his head until he quieted. "We'll figure it out," she whispered into the darkness. Tomorrow, Lily would walk home from school again. Alone. Along streets where motorcycles idled and men in leather watched without speaking. And Thor's instincts would prove more accurate than anyone wanted to believe. The spring afternoon felt heavier than usual when Lily left Jefferson Elementary on Thursday. Her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had kept her late, concerned about incomplete homework assignments. By the time Lily stepped through the school gates, the usual clusters of parents and children had dispersed. The sidewalk stretched empty before her. She adjusted her purple backpack and started walking. The first 2 blocks passed normally. Birds sang from telephone wires. A sprinkler hissed in someone's front yard. Lily's sneakers scuffed against concrete in a rhythm she'd memorized over countless solitary walks. Then she heard the engines. 2 motorcycles rolled into view from a side street. Chrome flashing in sunlight. Leather creaking as riders shifted weight. They didn't accelerate past her. Instead, they slowed, matching her walking pace from 20 feet behind. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. She walked faster. They maintained distance. At the corner store, she made a decision. Turned left instead of continuing straight. The motorcycles followed. Mrs. Chen was outside sweeping, but Lily couldn't form words to ask for help. Her throat had closed around fear too large to swallow. The park appeared ahead, usually a shortcut she avoided. Today, it felt like the only option. Open space meant visibility. Visibility meant safety. She was wrong. 2 more motorcycles emerged from the park's far entrance. 4 total now, boxing her in. Lily's feet stopped moving. Her hands gripped the backpack straps until her knuckles turned white. The riders dismounted slowly, deliberately. Two men approached from behind, while two blocked the path ahead. They wore identical leather vests with a scorpion patch on the back, faces obscured by sunglasses and bandanas despite the cooling evening. One man stacked closer than the others, tall, broad-shouldered. Tattoos crawled up his neck like dark vines. "You walk this way every day," he said. His voice was surprisingly soft. "Always alone. That's dangerous for a little girl." Lily tried to back away. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. Another man circled to her right, silent, watching. His vest bore more patches, symbols Lily didn't understand. "Where's your mom work?" the tall one continued. "You home alone much?" Lily's mouth opened but produced no sound. "We've been watching you." He crouched down to her eye level. "Smart girl like you could help us with deliveries. Easy work. Good money." The silent man laughed, a sound like gravel in a disposal. Lily found her voice finally. One word. "No." The tall man tilted his head. "No, you don't even know what we're asking yet." "I said no." Her voice trembled but held. He stood slowly, glanced at the others. "She's got spirit. I like that." One of the men behind her spoke for the first time. Purple backpack, easy to spot. "We'll see you around, kid." They didn't touch her, didn't threaten overtly. But their presence communicated everything words couldn't. They mounted their motorcycles in synchronized motion, engines roaring to life simultaneously. The tall man pointed at Lily as they prepared to leave. "Think about it," he called over the noise. "We'll talk again soon." Then they were gone, leaving only exhaust fumes and the taste of fear in Lily's mouth. She ran the remaining 4 blocks home, burst through the apartment door. Elena wasn't there yet, shift running late as always. Lily locked every lock, checked every window, then curled up on the couch with her backpack still strapped to her shoulders. She didn't tell her mother when Elena finally arrived at 8:30, didn't have words for what had happened. How could she explain men who threatened without threatening, who knew her routine, who promised they'd see her again? That night, Lily barely slept. Across town, Sarah sat in her patrol car, reviewing reports. Increased motorcycle activity near school zones had been flagged by traffic division. Not illegal, not actionable, just notable. Clusters of bikers appearing in areas they typically avoided. 4 paced the back seat, restless and whining. "What's got you worked up?" Sarah asked, turning to look at him. His attention fixed on something beyond the window. They were parked 2 blocks from Jefferson Elementary, finishing paperwork before end of shift. Thor's ears swiveled forward. Tracking sounds Sarah couldn't detect. She followed his gaze, saw nothing unusual. Empty streets, closed businesses, residential lights flickering on as evening deepened. But Thor knew something she didn't. Sarah drove slowly through the neighborhood, letting Thor's reactions guide her route. He alerted at 3 specific intersections, barked once sharply near the park entrance, scratched at the window when they passed a vacant lot adjacent to an old warehouse. "You're telling me something," Sarah murmured. "I'm just not smart enough to understand yet." She made notes of the locations, ran the addresses through her database. The warehouse came back registered to a holding company with connections to known associates of a motorcycle club called the Scorpions. Not conclusive, not evidence, just threads that didn't quite connect. The next morning, Sarah arrived early for the Friday K-9 demonstration session. Parents and children filtered in gradually. Sarah scanned faces, looking for the small girl with the purple backpack, hoping Lily would return. She didn't. Elena called during setup to cancel. "Lily's not feeling well," she explained, voice rushed and distracted. "She's been having nightmares. I think the program might be too intense for her right now." Sarah's instincts prickled. Has something happened? Something at school or on her way home? A pause. "No, nothing she's mentioned." "Why?" "Just checking in. Sometimes kids see things that worry them but don't know how to talk about it. If she tells me anything, I'll let you know." Elena sounded unconvinced. "I have to go. My shift starts in 20 minutes. The call ended. Sarah stood holding her phone, that familiar itch of unfinished police work crawling under her skin. Thor sat at her feet, staring up at her with dark, intelligent eyes. "She's scared," Sarah said aloud. "You felt it too, didn't you?" Thor's tail thumped once against the floor. After the demonstration ended, Sarah made a decision that bent several department protocols. She drove to Jefferson Elementary during afternoon dismissal, parked across the street, watched children pour through the gates in clusters of noise and color. Lily emerged alone, later than most, purple backpack visible from a block away. Sarah watched her walk, noticed how the girl's head swiveled constantly, how she crossed the street twice to avoid certain corners, how her pace quickened near the park entrance. Then Sarah saw what Thor had sensed. 3 motorcycles appeared from a side street, rolled slowly behind Lily, matching her speed, not approaching, not threatening overtly, just present, watching. Sarah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. She reached for her radio, then hesitated. What would she report? Motorcycles on public streets? Men who hadn't broken any laws? A child walking home alone wasn't evidence of anything except poverty and circumstance, but every instinct screamed that something was deeply wrong. The motorcycles peeled off before reaching the corner store. Lily continued walking, faster now. Sarah followed at a distance until the girl reached her apartment building safely. Only then did Sarah allow herself to breathe fully. That evening, she requested a meeting with Juvenile Division. Detective Maria Santos listened to Sarah's concerns with professional skepticism. "You're describing legal activity," Santos pointed out. "Adults on motorcycles, a child walking home, no contact, no threats witnessed. Thor's been alerting in that area for days. His instincts are never wrong." "I believe you, but instincts aren't probable cause." Santos pulled up files on her computer. "However, this isn't the first flag we've gotten about the scorpions operating near schools. 3 other children from single-parent households have been approached in the past 6 months." Sarah leaned forward. "Approached how?" "Recruited, offered money to carry packages, electronics mostly. Stolen goods they move through kids because juvenile charges are lighter." Santos's expression darkened. "2 accepted, 1's in foster care now. Mother are lost custody after the kid was caught with $15,000 worth of tablets. And nobody connected this to organized targeting? We suspected, couldn't prove. The scorpions are careful, never touch the kids directly. Always leave an out. Make it seem like the child's choice." Sarah's jaw clenched. "Lily Martinez, 9 years old. They've made contact. You're sure?" "I'm sure Thor's sure. That's enough for me." Santos made notes. "I'll open a preliminary file. But Sarah, without the girl's testimony or witnessed criminal activity, my hands are tied. Best I can do is increase patrols near the school. That's not enough. It's all I've got." Sarah left the meeting frustrated and afraid. Afraid for a small girl she barely knew. Afraid that by the time evidence materialized, it would be too late. That night, she sat at her kitchen table with Thor's head resting on her lap. Outside, Riverside settled into its usual illusion of safety. Porch lights glowed. Television sets flickered behind curtains. Families ate dinner and argued about homework, and pretended danger was something that happened elsewhere. But Sarah knew better. Predators didn't announce themselves with obvious violence. They circled slowly, identified weakness, applied pressure gradually until resistance collapsed. And somewhere across town, a 9-year-old girl was lying awake, in the dark, wondering if tomorrow the motorcycles would come again. The weekend offered Lily temporary refuge. Elena worked shorter shifts on Saturdays, walked with her daughter to the grocery store and library. Lily stayed close, gripping her mother's hand like she hadn't since she was 5. Elena noticed, but attributed it to lingering anxiety from years past. She didn't know the danger was present tense. Monday arrived too quickly. Elena left for her 7 a.m. shift with promises to call during lunch. Lily dressed slowly, dreading the moment she'd have to walk those familiar blocks alone. Her purple backpack sat by the door like an accusation. She considered faking illness, staying home. But Elena needed this job, needed Lily to be brave and independent. So Lily swallowed her fear and walked to school. The day passed in a blur of fractions and spelling tests. Lily couldn't concentrate, kept watching the classroom windows as if motorcycles might appear in the parking lot. Mrs. Rodriguez asked twice if she felt all right. Lily nodded, lying with silence. 3:15 came. Dismissal. Children flooded the hallways with relief and noise. Lily waited until the crowds thinned before leaving. Walked out into afternoon sunshine that felt too bright, too exposed. The motorcycles were waiting. Not 3 this time. 6, parked in formation across from the school gates. Engines off. Riders standing beside their bikes, arms crossed, watching. Lily froze on the sidewalk. Other children streamed past, oblivious. Parents chatted near the crosswalk. Nobody seemed to notice the men in leather vests. Or maybe they noticed and looked away. Riverside had perfected the art of intentional blindness. The tall man from Thursday stepped forward, removed his sunglasses. His eyes were pale blue, cold like winter lakes. "Purple backpack," he called out. Not loud. Just loud enough. "We've been waiting." Lily's feet finally moved. She turned left, instead of right. Away from her usual route, heart pounding so hard she felt dizzy. The motorcycles started simultaneously. Followed. She cut through the park, hoping the open space would offer protection. Families were there, pushing toddlers on swings, throwing frisbees. Surely nothing bad could happen surrounded by witnesses. But the riders didn't need to do anything bad. They just needed to be present. They parked at the park's far exit, blocking her path home. Lily stopped near the playground equipment, trapped. Her hands trembled against the backpack straps. The tall man approached slowly. 2 others flanked him. One was silent like before. The other had chains hanging from his belt, clinking with each step. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," the tall man said. His voice remained soft, almost friendly. "We're offering opportunity. Money for simple work. Help your mom. Buy things you need." Lily shook her head. Words wouldn't come. The man with chains stepped closer. "Your mom works at County General. Night shifts mostly. Comes home late. Leaves you alone." He paused. "Parking lot's dark this time of year." Terror shot through Lily's chest. They knew where Elena worked, knew their schedule, knew everything. "We don't want trouble," the tall man continued. "We want cooperation. One delivery, that's all. Prove you're smart enough to help." The silent man pulled something from his jacket, a photograph. He held it up for Lily to see. Her house, their apartment building. The blue door, the window with the broken blind. "Tomorrow," the tall man said. 3 p.m., warehouse on 5th Street. Bring your backpack. He leaned down slightly. "Or we visit your mom at work. Have a conversation about her daughter's safety." Lily's hands moved without conscious thought. Flat palm, then closed fist. The signals Sarah had taught. Across the park, near the parking lot, Sarah sat in her unmarked car. She'd taken personal time to conduct unofficial surveillance. Captain wouldn't approve. Didn't need to know. Thor occupied the passenger seat. Tss, head out the window. His ears suddenly swiveled forward. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Sarah followed his gaze, saw the cluster of motorcycles, the men surrounding someone small, purple backpack visible between leather-clad bodies. "That's her," Sarah breathed. She reached for her door handle. Thor barked sharply, urgently. Sarah hesitated. Charging in without backup or probable cause could make things worse, could get her suspended, could compromise any future investigation. But doing nothing felt impossible. Then she saw Lily's hands, the signals, flat palm, fist, clear as daylight even from 50 yards away. Stay, alert. Thor saw them too. His bark intensified. Claws scrabbled at the door. Sarah made her decision. Started the engine. Activated her lights but not the siren. Rolled slowly toward the playground. The bikers noticed immediately. The tall man glanced toward the approaching vehicle, said something sharp to the others. They dispersed like smoke, mounting their motorcycles with practiced speed. Engines roared to life. By the time Sarah reached the playground, only Lily remained, standing alone near the swings, shaking visibly. Sarah parked and approached carefully. Thor strained at his leash, pulling toward the girl. "Lily?" Sarah kept her voice gentle. "Are you hurt?" The girl shook her head, still couldn't speak. "Did those men touch you?" Another headshake. Sarah crouched down. "I saw your hands. You signaled. That was incredibly smart." Lily's eyes filled with tears. They spilled over, tracking down her cheeks silently. "You're safe now," Sarah said, though she knew it was only temporarily true. "I'm going to call your mom, and then we're going to talk about what's happening, okay?" Finally, Lily spoke. One word. "Tomorrow." "What happens tomorrow?" "They want me to go somewhere. Warehouse. Carry something." Her voice broke. "They know where my mom works. They have pictures of our house." Sarah's blood turned cold. "Did they threaten you directly?" "They said they'd visit her, talk about my safety." Lily wiped her face with her sleeve. "I'm scared." I know, but you did exactly the right thing. You asked for help. Sarah called Elena first, then Detective Santos, then her captain. Consequences be damned. This had escalated beyond unofficial surveillance. This was active targeting of a minor with implied threats. Elena arrived within 20 minutes, frantic and confused. Lily collapsed into her mother's arms, finally allowing herself to cry fully. Santos showed up shortly after with two other detectives. They took statements from Lily, from Sarah, documented everything. The girl's testimony was halting but clear. The Scorpions had made contact 3 times, followed her repeatedly, issued ultimatums. We can place protective surveillance, Santos said. And I'll request a warrant for the warehouse based on her statement about the delivery demand. That takes time, Sarah argued. They told her tomorrow at 3, which gives us 24 hours to prepare. Santos looked at Elena. Is there somewhere else you and Lily can stay tonight? Family? Friends? Elena shook her head. My sister lives 2 hours away. I can't miss work. I'll lose my job. Your daughter's safety is why I need that job. Elena's voice cracked. We barely make rent as it is. Sarah spoke before thinking it through. Stay with me tonight, both of you. I have a guest room, and 4. Elena hesitated. We can't impose. You're not. I'm offering. Sarah met her eyes. Please, let me help. That evening, Sarah's small house filled with unfamiliar sounds. Elena making phone calls to arrange coverage at the hospital. Lily sitting silently on the couch, watching Thor with wide eyes. The dog stayed close to the girl. Sensing her distress, Sarah made simple dinner. Pasta, salad. Nobody ate much. Conversation came in fragments. How long have they been following you? Elena asked her daughter. Week and a half, maybe 2. Why didn't you tell me? Lily's voice went small. I didn't want to worry you. You're always so tired. Elena pulled her daughter close. Baby, nothing is more important than you being safe. Nothing. After dinner, Lily asked if she could sit with Thor. Sarah agreed. Watching as the girl positioned herself on the floor beside the German shepherd. Thor stretched out, resting his head on her lap. He knows I'm sad, Lily whispered. He does, Sarah confirmed. Dogs understand feelings better than most people. Were you sad when your husband died? The question caught Sarah off guard. Yes, very sad. Thor was his dog first, right? Yes. So Thor was sad too. Sarah nodded, throat tight. Lily stroked the white patch on Thor's chest. I'm glad you have each other now, so you're not sad alone. Elena covered her mouth, eyes glistening. Sarah blinked rapidly, fighting the sting behind her own eyes. That night, Lily slept in the guest room, with Thor lying on the floor beside the bed. Elena took the couch despite Sarah's protests. Sarah remained awake in her own room, door open, listening, thinking, planning. Santos had promised action, warrants, protection. But Sarah knew how slowly bureaucracy moved. How easily things slipped through cracks. The Scorpions expected Lily at that warehouse tomorrow. Expected compliance or consequences. Sarah wouldn't let either happen. At midnight, Thor padded into Sarah's room, whined softly. She followed him to the guest ring, found Lily sitting up in bed, tears streaming silently. Can't sleep? Sarah asked quietly. They're going to hurt my mom if I don't go. No one's going to hurt anyone, I promise. You can't promise that. Sarah sat on the edge of the bed. You're right, I can't control everything, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to keep you both safe. Lily looked at Thor. Will he protect us? With his life. The girl reached out and Thor moved closer. She buried her face in his fur. I wish I was brave like him. You are brave. You signaled for help even when you were terrified. That's the definition of courage. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like being scared all the time. Those aren't opposites, Sarah said gently. Courage is being scared and doing the right thing anyway. You've already done that. Lily finally fell asleep near 2 a.m., one hand resting on Thor's back. Sarah sat in the hallway, back against the wall, gun within reach. Tomorrow would bring confrontation, evidence gathering, potentially danger. But tonight, a frightened girl slept knowing she wasn't alone. And sometimes that made all the difference. Morning arrived with gray skies and the weight of decisions ahead. Sarah woke to find Elena already dressed, making coffee in the kitchen with the quiet efficiency of someone used to early shifts. I called in sick, Elena said before Sarah could ask. First time in 2 years, they weren't happy. Your daughter needs you here. I know. Doesn't make it easier. Elena poured 2 cups. What happens today? Detective Santos is pursuing a warrant for the warehouse. We'll have surveillance in place by this afternoon. If they're using that location for illegal activity, we'll have grounds for arrest. And if the warrant doesn't come through in time? Sarah didn't answer immediately. The truth was complicated. Uncertain. Then we adapt. Lily emerged from the guest room, hair tangled, eyes puffy from crying. Thor followed at her heels like a shadow. The girl went directly to her mother, who wrapped her in a fierce embrace. We don't have to do anything we don't want to, Elena murmured into her daughter's hair. You understand that? We can leave town, start over somewhere. Running isn't always the answer, Sarah said carefully. These men operate in multiple cities. They'd find other vulnerable kids, other families. Elena's eyes flashed. I don't care about other families right now. I care about mine. I understand. But Lily's testimony could shut down their entire operation. Save other children from going through this. That's not her responsibility. She's 9 years old. Sarah knew Elena was right, knew the burden shouldn't fall on a child. But the reality of limited resources and stretched police departments meant victims often became the key to stopping predators. It wasn't fair. It was just true. Detective Santos arrived at 9 a.m. with news. Warrants approved. Judge fast-tracked it based on Lily's statement and the pattern evidence. We can enter the warehouse legally. When? Sarah asked. Teams assembling now. We go in at noon. They told Lily 3 p.m., which gives us a 3-hour window to document everything before they expect her. Santos looked at Lily. You won't be anywhere near that warehouse. Understand? We're handling this. Lily nodded, but didn't look convinced. Santos continued. We've also identified the man who approached you. Derek Rawlings, known as Viper. He's the Scorpion's local chapter president. Multiple priors, currently on parole. Parole? Elena's voice rose. And he's out there threatening children? Parole officers have limited oversight. Unless he violates conditions, there's not much we can do preventatively. Santos pulled out her phone, showed them a photo. This him? Lily looked briefly and turned away. Yes. A second photo. Older man, heavily muscled, cold expression. What about him? Marcus Cooper, called Chains. Another nod from Lily. Santos documented her identifications. Your testimony puts both of them at the scene making threats. That's leverage. While Santos made calls coordinating the warehouse operation, Sarah took Thor outside. The dog was restless, pacing the yard with purposeful intensity. He kept looking back at the house, at the window where Lily stood watching. Sarah's phone buzzed. Captain Hendricks. She answered reluctantly. Brennan, what the hell are you doing using personal time to run surveillance on a motorcycle gang? Following a credible threat against a minor, sir. Without authorization, without backup. You could have been hurt or worse. But I wasn't, and now we have grounds for intervention. A heavy sigh. Santos briefed me. I'm approving your involvement in today's operation. But Brennan, you pull something like this again without going through proper channels, you'll be riding a desk until retirement. Understood, sir. I mean it. I know you've got good instincts. But instincts don't stop bullets. The call ended. Sarah looked at Thor. He's not wrong. The dog tilted his head, unconvinced. By 11 a.m., Sarah suited up in tactical gear. Elena and Lily would stay at the house with a uniformed officer posted outside. Santos assured them the perimeter was secure. I want to come, Lily said suddenly. Absolutely not. 3 adults responded simultaneously. They're expecting me. If I'm not there, they'll know something's wrong. Santos crouched to her level. We're counting on them not knowing something's wrong. We need the element of surprise. But what if they come looking for me? Officer Davis will be right outside, and Thor's staying here with you. Sarah started to protest, but Santos cut her off. We've got K9 units with the tactical team. Thor's trained for protection, not warrant execution. He stays with the girl. It made tactical sense, even as it made emotional sense to no one. Sarah looked at Thor, who looked at Lily, who looked terrified. He'll keep you safe, Sarah said. Better than I could. The team assembled at a staging area 6 blocks from the warehouse on 5th Street. 12 officers, 2 K9 units. Santos running point. Sarah assigned to secondary entry team. The warehouse was a deteriorating brick structure surrounded by chain-link fencing. Businesses nearby had closed years ago, leaving the entire block abandoned. Perfect location for illegal operations. Surveillance confirmed movement inside, at least 4 individuals, motorcycles parked in the loading bay. Santos gave final instructions through radio. "We go on my mark. Rules of engagement, standard protocols. These guys have a history of violence, so stay sharp." Sarah checked her weapon, her vest, her resolve. They breached at 11:45. The entry was controlled chaos. Shouts of "police" echoing through cavernous space. Officers fanning through rooms. Canines alerting on multiple locations. Sarah's team secured the eastern corridor. Found storage rooms stacked with electronics still in packaging. Tablets, laptops, gaming systems. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth. In the main warehouse floor, they found the Scorpions. 4 men including Viper and Chains. Hands raised but faces defiant. "You got a warrant?" Viper demanded. Santos produced it. "For these premises and any evidence of stolen goods or trafficking operations, you're all under arrest." They found more than stolen electronics. In a back office, they discovered detailed maps of school zones, photographs of children, schedules of dismissal times. A recruitment operation that had been running for at least 8 months across 3 school districts. Sarah felt sick looking at the evidence. Lily's face appeared in several photos. Purple backpack clearly visible. They also found documents, records of deliveries, payments, a network that extended beyond Riverside into neighboring counties. "This is bigger than we thought," Santos said quietly, scanning through files. "We're going to need federal involvement." The arrests were processed, rights read, men loaded into patrol vehicles with hands cuffed. Viper made eye contact with Sarah as they let him out. "That little girl made a big mistake." "The only mistake was yours," Sarah replied coldly. "Targeting children, threatening families, you're done." "Am I? You think this ends with us? There's always someone else. Always another kid who needs money bad enough." Sarah wanted to respond, to argue, but his words carried an uncomfortable truth. Arresting 4 men wouldn't solve the systemic problems that made children vulnerable to exploitation. But it was a start. By 2 p.m., the warehouse was cleared and secured as a crime scene. Sarah drove back to her house, exhausted and wired simultaneously. Elena met her at the door. "Well?" "4 arrests. Enough evidence to prosecute for trafficking, theft, and conspiracy. Maybe federal charges, depending on how wide this network goes." Elena's shoulders sagged with relief. "So it's over?" "The immediate threat is, but there'll be court dates, testimony required. It's not finished, but the danger's significantly reduced." Inside, Lily sat on the floor with Thor. The girl looked up when Sarah entered. "Did you get them?" "We did." "All of them?" "The ones who threatened you, yes. There may be others we haven't identified yet." Lily's face fell slightly. "So I still have to be careful." Sarah sat beside her. "Yes, but not because they're hunting you. Because it's always smart to be aware of your surroundings. The difference is, now you have people watching out for you. Now you know how to signal for help." "And now I know Thor," Lily added, hugging the dog. "And now you know Thor," Sarah agreed. Santos called an hour later with updates. Viper and Chains are being held without bail. The other 2 made bail, but they're small players. Viper's the one who matters. What about the other kids in those photos? Victim Services is reaching out to families. Some already knew their kids had been approached. Others had no idea. Santos paused. "Your instinct to follow this saved more than just Lily. You know that, right?" Sarah did know, but it didn't feel like victory yet. Wouldn't until trial concluded and sentences were handed down. That evening, Elena made dinner in Sarah's kitchen, while Lily helped Thor perform the hand signals she'd learned. The atmosphere felt lighter. Not quite normal, but approaching something like peace. "Can we come back?" Lily asked during dessert. "To the canine classes?" "Of course," Sarah said. "Anytime." "Will Thor be there?" "Always." Lily smiled, the first genuine smile Sarah had seen from her. "Good." "I want to learn more signals, in case I need them again." "You will learn them, and you'll teach other kids too if you want." The girl considered this. "Other kids who are scared?" "Exactly." "Okay, I can do that." Elena reached across the table, squeezed Sarah's hand. "Thank you. For believing her. For acting when it mattered. It's my job." No. Your job is following protocols and filling out reports. What you did was more than that. Elena's eyes glistened. You saved my daughter. Sarah looked at Lily, who was whispering something to Thor. The dog's tail wagged slowly. She saved herself, Sarah said quietly. By being brave enough to signal. I just answered. That night, after Elena and Lily returned home with police escort, Sarah sat alone with Thor. The house felt too quiet now. She'd grown accustomed to their presence in just 2 days. Thor whined softly, staring at the door. I know, Sarah told him. I miss them too. Her phone displayed the booking photos of Viper and Chains, men who'd terrorized a child, who'd threatened countless others. Behind bars now, but for how long? The system was imperfect, justice uncertain. But today, one girl was safer. One family could breathe easier. Sometimes that had to be enough. 3 days of relative calm followed the arrests. Lily returned to school, with police patrols increased around Jefferson Elementary. Elena adjusted her shifts to ensure someone walked her daughter home. Sarah resumed normal duties but stayed in close contact with the family. Then Thursday arrived. Santos called Sarah at 6 a.m. We've got a problem. Viper made bail. Sarah sat up in bed. How? You said he was being held without bail. Judge reversed the decision. Defense argued he wasn't a flight risk, had community ties. Prosecution couldn't prove imminent danger to specific individuals. Santos's frustration bled through the phone. He posted bond an hour ago. He's out. Does Elena know? Victim Services is notifying her now. We've got units patrolling her neighborhood. But Sarah, we can't maintain that level of coverage indefinitely. Sarah was already dressing. I'm going over there. She arrived at the Martinez apartment to find Elena pacing, phone pressed to her ear. Lily sat at the kitchen table, backpack already on, face pale. I can't miss another shift. Elena was saying to someone, I understand the situation, but I'll lose my job if I don't come in today. She hung up, looked at Sarah. They're saying I should keep her home from school. But I can't stay with her, and I can't afford childcare. I'll stay, Sarah offered immediately. You have work too. I'll take personal time. Elena shook her head. You can't keep sacrificing for us. This isn't sustainable. She was right. Sarah knew it. But short-term solutions were all they had. Lily spoke quietly from the table. I want to go to school. I can't hide forever. Baby, it's not safe, Elena said. It wasn't safe before either. But now I know what to watch for. And I know the signals. Sarah crouched beside Lily's chair. The signals work when I'm close enough to see them. If something happens at school or on the way there, then I'll scream, I'll run, I'll find adults. Lily's voice was small, but determined. I can't stay scared in the apartment. That's letting them win. Elena looked at Sarah helplessly. What do I do? Honestly, I don't know. Sarah stood. The legal system's moving at its own pace. Trial won't happen for months. We can't put your lives on hold that long. So we just hope he doesn't retaliate? We stay vigilant, we maintain awareness. And we trust that the increased scrutiny will make him think twice. It wasn't enough. Everyone in the room knew it. Elena made her decision. Lily goes to school. I go to work. We live our lives. But you take this. She pressed a whistle into her daughter's hand. Anything feels wrong. You blow this as loud as you can. Lily nodded, clutching the whistle. Sarah walked them both out, waited until Elena's car disappeared toward the hospital, then followed Lily's route to school at a distance. Thor in the passenger seat. The walk was uneventful. Other children joined Lily at various points, safety in numbers. She reached Jefferson Elementary without incident. Sarah parked across the street, positioned to observe dismissal later. The morning crawled. Sarah reviewed case files, made calls, watched the school entrance. Thor dozed but woke periodically, ears rotating toward sounds she couldn't detect. At 2 p.m., Santos called again. Chains made bail too. Posted 20 minutes ago. Sarah's blood chilled. Both of them are out? Defense lawyer's good. Judge is lenient. It's a bad combination. They're going to come for her. We don't know that. The arrest, the evidence seizure, the publicity, all of it makes them targets. They'd be stupid to escalate. They've been stupid before. Santos couldn't argue. I've got patrol units alerted. Everyone's watching for Scorpion activity. It won't be enough if they're determined. Sarah stayed parked outside the school until dismissal. Watched children flood out at 3:15. Lily emerged with a small group, talking to another girl. Normal. Safe. Then Sarah's instincts prickled. A van pulled up slowly down the block. White, unmarked, windows tinted. It stopped at the corner where Lily's group P would pass. Thor growled low in his chest. "I see it," Sarah murmured, starting her engine. The van's side door slid open. 2 men inside, not Viper or Chains, younger, but wearing Scorpion's vests. Sarah activated her lights and rolled forward. The van's door slammed shut. It accelerated away, turning at the next intersection. Sarah got the plates, called them in. Dispatch confirmed the van was registered to a known Scorpion's associate. "They're not backing off," Sarah told Santos minutes later. "They sent different members, testing to see if we're watching, and now they know we are. Which means they'll try something else." That evening, Sarah convinced Elena to let Lily stay at her house again, just until we figure out a longer-term solution. Elena agreed reluctantly. "This can't continue indefinitely." "I know." But neither of them had answers. Lily settled into the guest room, like she'd done it 100 times. Thor took his position on the floor beside her bed. The routine felt simultaneously comforting and alarming. How quickly danger normalized. Sarah made dinner, spaghetti, garlic bread. Simple food that reminded her of childhood when problems were smaller and solutions clearer. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said during the meal. "Of course. Why do you care so much? About me, I mean. You don't even know us." Sarah set down her fork, considered how to answer honestly. "When my husband died, I felt like I'd failed. Like I should have protected him better, even though I wasn't there when it happened." Lily listened intently. "Helping you, keeping you safe, it doesn't bring him back. But it makes me feel like I'm honoring what he would have wanted. He became a cop to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Like me. Like you. Do you think he'd be proud of what you're doing?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I hope so." Thor's head suddenly lifted, ears forward. A low growl rumbled from his chest. Sarah stood immediately. "Stay here." She moved to the window, peered through the curtains. The street appeared empty. Porch lights glowed from neighboring houses. Nothing unusual visible. But Thor didn't growl at nothing. Sarah grabbed her weapon, checked the locks, moved through the house room by room. Everything secure. Thor remained agitated, pacing between the living room and front door. Then Sarah heard it, distant but distinct. Motorcycle engines. She looked out the front window again. 3 bikes rolled slowly down her street. Didn't stop, didn't slow excessively. Just cruised past with deliberate visibility. A message: "We know where you are." Sarah called Santos immediately. "They just drove past my house. 3 bikes, Scorpions." "Did they stop or threaten?" "No, but the intent was clear." "I'll dispatch a unit to patrol your street tonight." After the call, Sarah returned to the kitchen. Lily stood in the doorway, face white. "They found us here too," the girl whispered. "They know where I live because I'm a cop. Public record." Sarah kept her voice calm despite her racing heart. "But this house has security, neighbors who watch out for each other, and for. What if they come back? Then we'll be ready." But ready for what? Sarah couldn't barricade them inside indefinitely, couldn't request protection details that stretched resources the department didn't have. Couldn't arrest men for driving on public streets. The Scorpions were playing a careful game. Visible enough to intimidate, subtle enough to avoid charges. That night, Sarah didn't sleep. Sat in the living room with lights off, weapon within reach. Thor lay beside her, equally vigilant. At 2 a.m., the motorcycles returned. Same 3, slower this time. One stopped briefly in front of her house, engine idling, then moved on. Sarah photographed the plates, called them in. All registered to Scorpion's associates. Morning came gray and exhausted. Elena arrived early to collect Lily for school. Sarah briefed her on the night's events. "This is escalating," Elena said. "What do we do?" "I'm working on something. Give me today." After they left, Sarah drove to the police station, requested a meeting with Captain Hendricks and Detective Santos. "We need a task force," Sarah argued. "Dedicated resources to dismantle the Scorpions completely. Not just the individuals, the entire operation." Hendricks shook his head. "We don't have the budget or personnel for that level of operation. Then we bring in federal support. FBI, ATF, this trafficking network crosses state lines. Federal agencies have their own priorities. A local motorcycle club harassing one family doesn't meet their threshold. Then we make it meet their threshold. Sarah laid out her plan. We use Lily's testimony to build a larger case. Interview the other kids in those photos. Document the full scope. Present it as organized crime, not isolated incidents. Santos considered it. That could work, but it takes time. Weeks, maybe months. We don't have months. They're circling now. So what's your solution? Sarah didn't have one that followed regulations. Didn't have one that kept her badge. But she had one that might keep Lily alive. I take them off the board myself. Absolutely not, Hendricks said immediately. You will not engage in vigilante action. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about surveillance, evidence gathering. Airing, finding something that violates their parole terms. Get them back behind bars legally but proactively. That's still outside your jurisdiction without authorization. Then authorize me. Hendricks and Santos exchanged looks. The captain finally spoke. 48 hours. You coordinate with Santos, you document everything, and you do not, under any circumstances, engage without backup. Understood? Understood. Sarah left the meeting with temporary authority and permanent awareness that 48 hours might not be enough. But it was all the time she had. That afternoon, she positioned herself outside the Scorpion's known hangout, a bar on the industrial edge of town. Watched men come and go. Documented faces, plates, activities. Thor sat in the backseat, alert and ready. At 5 p.m., Viper emerged. Walked to his motorcycle. Noticed Sarah's car. He smiled. Waved mockingly. Then he pulled out his phone. Made a call while staring directly at her. Sarah's own phone buzzed 30 seconds later. Elena. Panicked. They're at the school, right now, surrounding Lily. Sarah's world narrowed to 3 words. I'm coming. She activated lights and sirens, accelerated toward Jefferson Elementary. Thor barked urgently from the backseat. The hunt had ended. The confrontation was beginning. Sarah's patrol car screamed through Riverside streets. 6 minutes from the bar to Jefferson Elementary. Thor braced himself in the backseat, claws scraping against leather as the vehicle cornered hard. Sarah radioed dispatch. 10:33, officer needs assistance, Jefferson Elementary. Multiple suspects surrounding minor. All available units responding, dispatch confirmed. ETA, 4 minutes. 4 minutes, too long. Sarah arrived first. The school parking lot was chaos. Parents shouting, children crying, teachers trying to maintain order. And in the center of it all, Lily stood frozen near the flagpole. 6 scorpions surrounded her in a loose circle, not touching, not overtly threatening, just present, blocking her path in every direction. Chains stood closest, arms crossed, face impassive. Sarah parked at an angle, blocking the nearest exit, emerged with Thor on a short lead. The Don's hackles rose immediately, a growl building in his chest. Step away from the child, Sarah commanded, hand on her weapon, now. Chains turned slowly. We're on public property, just waiting for someone. You're violating a restraining order. Move away or you're under arrest. What restraining order? He smiled without warmth. I don't see any paperwork. He was right. The order hadn't been processed yet. Sarah had no legal grounds to force them away. But she had Thor. Last warning, Sarah said. Step back. One of the younger scorpions laughed. Or what? You gonna sick your dog on us for standing around? Lily's hands moved. Small, trembling, 2 fingers pointed down. Help. Thor saw it. His growl intensified, muscles bunching beneath his coat. Sarah made a calculation, drew her weapon, but kept it lowered. I'm placing you all under arrest for menacing and harassment of a minor. On what grounds? Chains demanded. On the grounds that you're terrifying a 9-year-old child. Being scary isn't illegal, officer. Parents were filming now. Phones raised, recording every word. Sarah was acutely aware that whatever happened next would be scrutinized, analyzed, potentially used against her. But Lily was shaking so hard her backpack rattled. Sarah released Thor's lead. Guard. The command activated Thor's protection protocol. He moved between Lily and the nearest scorpion, positioning his body as a barrier. His bark exploded across the parking lot, deep and authoritative. The scorpions shifted uncomfortably. Most had never faced a trained police canine. The animals weren't pets. They were weapons with teeth. "Control your dog," Chain said, taking an involuntary step backward. "He's controlled. He's doing exactly what he's trained to do. Protect a vulnerable victim." 2 patrol cars arrived, sirens wailing. Officers emerged with hands on weapons. The Scorpions reassessed quickly. 6 men, 4 cops, 1 very angry German shepherd. The odds had shifted. "We're leaving," Chains announced. "No law against being in a public parking lot." "There is when you're violating parole terms." Santos's voice cut through the tension. She'd arrived in an unmarked car, moved through the crowd with Detective Martinez flanking her. "Marcus Cooper, you're prohibited from contact with minors as a condition of your release. This constitutes a violation." Chains's expression darkened. "I wasn't in contact. I was standing. Within 10 feet of a minor you've previously threatened. That's contact." Santos nodded to the uniformed officers. "Arrest him." The situation could have exploded. 6 Scorpions, limited officers, armed men with nothing to lose. But Thor made the difference. The dog held position over Lily, radiating coiled violence. Any movement toward him would trigger an attack. Everyone present understood that calculation. The uniformed officers moved in. Chains allowed himself to be cuffed, but his eyes never left Sarah. "This isn't over." "Yeah, it is," Sarah replied. The other Scorpions dispersed as more patrol cars arrived. They mounted their motorcycles and rode off, engines roaring defiance. Santos supervised Chains being loaded into a patrol car, then turned to Lily, who remained frozen in place. Thor hadn't moved from his protective stance. "You're safe now," Santos said gently. "It's over." Lily finally moved, collapsed to her knees, and wrapped her arms around Thor's neck. The dog shifted from guard mode to comfort mode instantly, licking her face and whining softly. Elena arrived minutes later, having received the call from another parent. She ran across the parking lot and pulled Lily into her arms. "Oh God, baby, are you hurt?" "No." Lily's voice was muffled against her mother's shoulder. "Thor protected me." Elena looked at Sarah over her daughter's head. Gratitude and exhaustion and fear all mixed in her expression. Parents approached with questions. News crews arrived within 20 minutes. The story was already spreading on social media. 9-year-old surrounded by gang members. Police K9 intervenes. Video footage spreading rapidly. Sarah gave a brief statement to the press. An individual violated his parole conditions by approaching a minor. He was arrested without incident. The child was never in physical danger. A reporter pushed forward. "Is it true this gang has been targeting elementary school children?" "That's part of an ongoing investigation. No further comment." But the damage was done. Or perhaps the attention was finally focused where it needed to be. By evening, the story had gone regional. News helicopters circled Riverside. Reporters interviewed parents outside Jefferson Elementary. The Scorpions' activities were suddenly under intense public scrutiny. Captain Hendricks called Sarah into his office. "You've created a media circus. I protected a child. You used a canine to intimidate suspects on public property. I used a canine to perform his trained function, protection of a vulnerable individual." Hendricks rubbed his temples. "The footage is everywhere. 50 million views already. FBI called. They want to discuss the trafficking network." Sarah sat forward. "So we got their attention." "You got everyone's attention. The mayor's demanding action. City council's calling for a task force, and every parent in this town wants to know if their kid is safe. Are they? Not while the Scorpions operate freely." Hendricks pulled up files on his computer. "Federal agents arrive tomorrow. They're taking over the investigation, which means you're off it." "Sir, you're too close. You've made it personal. And while I understand why, personal doesn't hold up in court." His expression softened slightly. "You did good work, Brennan. You saved that girl. Let the feds finish it." Sarah left the office frustrated, but relieved. The case would continue without her. But Lily would have protection beyond what a single officer could provide. That night, Sarah, Elena, and Lily sat together in Sarah's living room. Thor lay across Lily's lap, too large to fit comfortably, but refusing to move. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "Federal investigation. They'll build a case against the entire organization. It'll take months, but when they move, it'll be comprehensive. And in the meantime, Chains is back in custody. Parole revoked. Viper's being monitored closely. One wrong move and he's back inside too. Lily spoke quietly. Will they come back? The others? The attention makes it unlikely, but I'm not going to lie to you. There's always risk. Sarah met the girl's eyes. But you're not alone. You've got your mom. You've got me. You've got Thor. And you've got an entire police department watching. And I've got the signals, Lily added. And you've got the signals. Elena pulled her daughter close. We're going to be okay. It felt like a prayer more than a statement. Sarah wanted to promise it was true. Wanted to guarantee safety and peace and normal childhood. But she'd been a cop too long to deal in guarantees. The next morning, FBI Special Agent Victoria Chen arrived at the Riverside Police Department. She reviewed the evidence with Santos and Sarah, asked detailed questions, made extensive notes. You've built a solid foundation, Chen said. The trafficking network extends into 4 states. We've been tracking the Scorpions for 18 months, but we couldn't get witnesses willing to testify. Lily will testify, Sarah said. She's 9, defense will tear her apart on the stand. She's also brave and articulate, and her testimony, combined with the physical evidence and the photos you found in that warehouse, will be devastating. Chen considered it. We'll need to prepare her. Child psychologist, victim advocate, the whole support system. Whatever she needs. Over the following days, federal agents swarmed Riverside. They interviewed witnesses, executed search warrants, arrested 17 Scorpions members across multiple jurisdictions. Viper was arrested for conspiracy to traffic stolen goods across state lines. Federal charges. No bail. The warehouse was fully processed. Computer files recovered revealed a network that had been operating for 3 years. Dozens of children exploited. Hundreds of thousands in stolen merchandise moved. Lily's courage had exposed it all. A week after the confrontation at Jefferson Elementary, the mayor held a press conference, announced the dismantling of a major criminal organization, praised law enforcement cooperation. Sarah stood in the back of the room. Thor beside her. She didn't need recognition, didn't want the spotlight. She just wanted Lily to walk home from school without fear. That evening, she visited the Martinez apartment, brought Thor and a bag of his favorite treats. Lily answered the door, smiled when she saw the dog. Mom, they're here. Elena emerged from the kitchen. Perfect timing. I just made dinner. They ate together, talked about mundane things, school projects, work schedules, the weather. Normal conversation that felt precious because of how hard they'd fought for it. After dinner, Lily practiced the hand signals with Thor. She'd learned them all now, could execute them perfectly. I'm going to teach other kids, Lily announced, at the next K9 class, so they know how to ask for help if they need it. Sarah's chest tightened. That's a wonderful idea. Because everyone should know they're not alone, even when they're scared. Elena caught Sarah's eye, mouthed a silent thank you. As Sarah prepared to leave, Lily hugged her tightly. You saved me. We saved each other, Sarah replied. Outside, Sarah and Thor walked to the car under streetlights that suddenly felt less ominous. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful. Tomorrow there would be more work, more cases, more children needing protection. But tonight, one girl slept safely, one family breathed easier. And sometimes that was everything. 2 weeks after the arrests, Special Agent Chen requested a meeting with Sarah, Elena, and Lily. They gathered at the police station in a small conference room designed for victim interviews. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs. Nothing institutional about the space except the one-way mirror on the wall. Chen laid out photographs on the table. Not the threatening surveillance photos from the warehouse. These were different. Official images. Crime scene documentation. We've processed everything from the warehouse and associated properties, Chen began. The case against the Scorpions is solid. 17 members arrested. Federal charges ranging from trafficking to racketeering. Elena leaned forward. So it's really over? The immediate threat is neutralized, but building a prosecution requires testimony. Physical evidence tells part of the story. Witnesses tell the rest. She looked at Lily. We'd like you to testify at the grand jury hearing. You wouldn't face the defendants directly. Just answer questions from the prosecutor about what happened. Lily's hand found Thor's head. The dog had been permitted in the room as a comfort animal. What kind of questions? About when they approached you, what they said, how they made you feel. Chen's voice was gentle. You'd have support the entire time. Your mom would be there. So would a victim advocate. What if I mess up, say something wrong? There's no wrong answer. You just tell the truth as you remember it. Sarah watched Lily's face, saw the fear competing with determination. The girl had already been so brave. Asking for more felt cruel. But Chen was right. Without testimony, the case weakened. Can I think about it? Lily asked. Of course, we have 2 weeks before the hearing. Chen gathered the photos. Take all the time you need. After the meeting, Sarah walked Elena and Lily to their car. The afternoon sun painted everything gold, softening the parking lot's harsh edges. What do you think I should do? Lily asked Sarah. I think you should do what feels right for you, not what anyone else wants or expects. But if I don't testify, they might go free. They might, or the physical evidence might be enough. You're not responsible for the outcome either way. Elena unlocked the car. We'll talk about it at home, as a family. Sarah watched them drive away. Thor whined softly beside her. I know, she told the dog. I don't want her to have to relive it either. 3 days later, Lily called Sarah directly. Elena had given her permission to use the phone for important matters. This qualified. I'll testify, Lily said without preamble, but I need Thor there. I don't know if they allow canines in courtrooms. Then I need you to find out, because I can't do it without him. Sarah made calls, pulled strings, cited regulations about emotional support animals and trauma-informed justice. Captain Hendricks backed her. So did Chen. The request was approved. The grand jury hearing was scheduled for a Wednesday morning. Sarah picked up Elena and Lily at 7 a.m. Thor rode in the back seat, wearing his service vest. Lily was quiet during the drive, wearing her best dress, purple, like her backpack, hair braided neatly. She looked even younger than 9. The courthouse was an imposing building. Stone columns, high ceilings, echo of footsteps on marble floors. Lily's hand gripped her mother's tightly. Chen met them in the waiting area. The grand jury is already seated. 23 citizens who will hear evidence and decide if there's enough to proceed to trial. You'll go in alone with the prosecutor and Thor. How long will it take? Elena asked. 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Chen crouched to Lily's level. You're incredibly brave. Remember that. When they called Lily's name, she stood on shaking legs. Thor moved immediately to her side. Sarah gave her an encouraging nod. You've got this, Sarah whispered. The courtroom doors closed behind them. Elena paced the waiting area. Sarah sat but couldn't relax, checked her watch every 90 seconds. 45 minutes passed before the doors opened. Lily emerged with Thor at her heels. Tears streaked her face, but her expression was resolute. Elena rushed to embrace her. How did it go? I told them everything. About the motorcycles, about what Viper said, about being scared. Lily wiped her eyes. Thor sat right next to me the whole time. When I got really scared, I put my hand on his head. And it helped. Chen appeared behind them. She did beautifully. Clear testimony, consistent with her prior statements. The jury asked several questions and she answered all of them. What happens now? Sarah asked. They'll deliberate. Probably return an indictment by end of day. Then we moved to trial preparation. Over lunch at a diner near the courthouse, Lily ate pancakes and talked more than Sarah had ever heard her talk. The testimony had released something, transformed fear into power. The prosecutor showed them the photos, the ones from the warehouse with my face in them. Lily poured syrup carefully. I told them how it felt to know they'd been watching me, following me. Elena's hands trembled around her coffee cup. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I'm not. I'm sorry it happened, but I'm not sorry I got to tell people about it. Lily looked at Sarah. You were right. Talking about it made it feel smaller. Less scary. You made it smaller, Sarah corrected, by being willing to face it. That evening, Chen called with news. Grand jury returned indictments against all 17 defendants. Charges include trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and child endangerment. Your daughter's testimony was pivotal. Elena relayed the information to Lily, who was doing homework at the kitchen table. The girl nodded, but didn't look up from her math problems. Is that it? She asked. Are we done now? Not quite. There'll be a trial eventually. You might need to testify again. Will Thor be there? We'll make sure of it. Then, okay. Her casualness was remarkable. She'd metabolized the fear, transformed it into something manageable. Sarah recognized the process. She'd done the same after Daniel died. Trauma didn't disappear. It integrated. Became part of your story instead of the story that defined you. A week later, Sarah received an unexpected visitor at the police station. an older woman in her 60s, well-dressed, carrying a leather folder. "Officer Brennan, I'm Margaret Chen, Victoria's mother." Sarah shook her hand, confused. "Is something wrong with the case?" "No, nothing like that. I'm here in a different capacity. I'm a child psychologist. I work with victims of trauma." Margaret sat without invitation. "Victoria told me about Lily, about what she's been through. I'd like to offer my services pro bono." "For what specifically?" "Processing. The testimony helped, but there's residual trauma, nightmares, anxiety. It manifests in different ways." Margaret opened her folder. "I specialize in therapy with children who've experienced targeting or exploitation. I think I could help her." Sarah considered it. "I'd need to discuss it with her mother." "Of course, here's my information." Margaret handed over a card. "The offer stands as long as she needs it." That evening, Sarah presented the option to Elena. They were at Sarah's house for their weekly dinner. It had become a routine. Every Tuesday, Elena and Lily came over. They cooked together, ate together, let Thor spoil Lily with attention. "Therapy?" Elena looked uncertain. "Can we afford that?" "She's offering it free, no cost." "Why would she do that?" "Because some people become psychologists to help children, not to make money." Elena glanced at Lily, who was teaching Thor to shake hands. "Do you think she needs it?" "I think it couldn't hurt." Lily's strong, but strong people still need support processing difficult experiences. Elena made the appointment. Dr. Margaret Chen's office was nothing like the courthouse. Bright colors, comfortable furniture, toys and art supplies scattered strategically. Lily relaxed immediately. After the first session, Margaret spoke with Elena and Sarah in the waiting room. "She's remarkably resilient, but there's underlying anxiety about safety, fear that the threat will return." "Is that normal?" Elena asked. "Completely. Her sense of security was violated. It takes time to rebuild that." Margaret made notes. "I'd recommend weekly sessions for at least 3 months. We'll work on coping mechanisms, safety planning, and gradually desensitizing her to the triggers." "Can Thor be part of the therapy?" Sarah asked. Margaret smiled. "I was going to suggest exactly that. Animal-assisted therapy is highly effective for childhood trauma." They established a schedule. Every Thursday after school, Lily would see Dr. Chen. Sarah would bring Thor. The dog would participate in sessions, helping Lily work through scenarios and practice feeling safe. During the third session, Margaret introduced a new element. "I want you to teach me the hand signals, the ones Thor knows." Lily demonstrated. Flat palm, closed fist, 2 fingers down. "These gave you power when you felt powerless," Margaret observed. "They're a tool, but I want to make sure you know you have other tools too. Your voice, your ability to run. Adults you can trust." "I know that now," Lily said. "But the signals helped when I couldn't talk." "Exactly. They're part of your toolkit, not the only part." Over the following weeks, Lily's nightmares decreased. She walked to school with less visible anxiety, smiled more readily, started participating in class discussions again, according to Mrs. Rodriguez. One evening, Elena called Sarah with news. She wants to go back to the canine demonstrations, not just attend. She wants to help teach. That's wonderful. Is it too soon? What if it triggers something? "I think if she's ready, we should let her try. We can always step back if it becomes overwhelming." The next Saturday, Lily stood in front of 15 children at the community center. Thor sat beside her, alert and proud. "I'm going to teach you about hand signals," Lily announced. Her voice was small but clear. "These signals can help you if you're ever in trouble and can't talk." She demonstrated each one. The children mimicked her movements with varying degrees of coordination. Sarah watched from the side of the room, chest tight with emotion. 6 weeks ago, this girl had been paralyzed with fear. Now she was teaching others how to protect themselves. Elena stood beside Sarah. "Thank you for all of this, for saving her." "She saved herself. I just provided backup. You provided more than that. You gave her hope, tools, a sense that she wasn't alone." Elena's voice cracked. "You gave her Thor. Thor chose her first. I just made it official." After the demonstration, a parent approached Sarah. "Is it true what happened about the gang?" "Some of it. The details are part of an ongoing investigation." "My daughter walks home alone too. Should I be worried?" "The specific threat has been neutralized, but it's always smart to teach children awareness. Make sure they know who to go to if something feels wrong." The parent nodded. "Can my daughter learn those hand signals?" "That's why we're here. By the end of the session, every child knew the basics: stay, alert, help, simple gestures that could save lives. As Sarah packed up, Lily approached with Thor at her heels. "Can I ask you something?" "Always. Is Thor going to stay with you forever?" Sarah's heart clenched. She'd been dreading this question. "That's the plan." "Why?" "I just want to make sure I can still see him, even when everything's back to normal." "Normal is you coming over every Tuesday, you teaching at these demonstrations, you being part of Thor's life." Sarah crouched down. "He's your dog as much as mine now." Lily hugged her fiercely. "Thank you for sharing him. Thank you for reminding me why I do this job." That night, Sarah sat alone with Thor. The dog rested his head on her lap, eyes half closed in contentment. "You did good, boy," she murmured. "Better than good. You saved her." Thor's tail thumped against the floor. Outside, Riverside settled into evening. Families eating dinner, children doing homework, the ordinary rhythms of life continuing. And somewhere across town, a 9-year-old girl was sleeping peacefully, knowing she had the tools to protect herself and the people who would always answer when she called. 3 months after the grand jury hearing, Riverside had transformed in subtle ways. More parents walked their children to school. Community watch programs expanded. The police department added 2 canine units specifically for school patrol. And a video of Thor protecting Lily had been viewed over 100 million times worldwide. The attention brought unexpected consequences. News outlets requested interviews. Documentary producers called. A children's book publisher wanted to tell Lily's story. Elena declined most requests, protected her daughter's privacy fiercely. But she agreed to one thing: a city ceremony honoring those who dismantled the Scorpions operation. The event was scheduled for a Saturday morning in May. Spring had fully arrived, painting Riverside in green and gold. The ceremony took place in the town square, where a temporary stage had been erected. Sarah arrived early with Thor. The dog wore a special collar for the occasion, leather with a brass nameplate. Officer Brennan had polished her dress uniform until the buttons gleamed. Lily and Elena appeared shortly after. Lily wore the same purple dress from the courthouse. She'd insisted on it, saying it was her brave dress now. "Nervous?" Sarah asked as they waited backstage. "A little. There's a lot of people." Easily 300 residents had gathered. Local press, city officials, families from Jefferson Elementary. Mayor Roberts opened the ceremony with a speech about community resilience and the importance of speaking up against injustice. His words were polished, political, but sincere enough. Then he called Sarah to the stage. Officer Brennan demonstrated exceptional dedication and courage in protecting our community's most vulnerable members. Her actions directly led to the arrest and prosecution of a dangerous criminal organization. He presented her with a commendation medal. The crowd applauded. Thor sat at perfect attention beside her, as if he understood the formality of the moment. Sarah gave a brief speech she'd prepared. "I didn't do this alone. Detective Santos and her team built the case. Federal agents brought the resources. Captain Hendricks provided the support and authorization. But most importantly, a 9-year-old girl found the courage to ask for help and the strength to testify about what happened to her." She gestured for Lily to join her on stage. The girl walked up slowly, Elena following close behind. Thor's tail began wagging the moment Lily approached. Mayor Roberts crouched to Lily's level. "Young lady, your bravery helped protect not just yourself, but countless other children. The city of Riverside is proud to present you with the Youth Courage Award." He handed her a plaque. Lily accepted it with both hands, studying the engraved words carefully. "Do you want to say anything?" the mayor asked gently. Lily looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at the faces watching expectantly. Then she looked at Thor. The dog moved closer, pressing against her leg. "I was really scared," Lily said into the microphone. Her voice was quiet, but the amplification carried it across the square. "For a long time, I didn't know what to do. I thought if I told someone, it would make things worse." Parents in the audience leaned forward, listening intently. "But Officer Brennan taught me that asking for help isn't weak, it's smart. And Thor showed me that you're never really alone, even when you feel like you are." She paused, gathering courage. "If something scary is happening to you, tell someone. Keep telling people until someone helps, because there are people who will help, I promise." The crowd erupted in applause. Several parents wiped their eyes. Children clapped enthusiastically. Lily stepped back from the microphone, visibly relieved it was over. Thor licked her hand reassuringly. The mayor then called forward a final recipient. We have one more award to present, to a member of our police force who has served with distinction for 4 years. Sarah's brow furrowed. Thor wasn't technically eligible for human awards. But the mayor continued. Thor, Police K9 badge number K947, is hereby awarded the Medal of Valor for exceptional courage in the protection of a minor. This is the first time in Riverside history that this honor has been given to a K9 officer. A handler brought forward a special vest, dark blue with gold lettering, Medal of Valor recipient. Sarah helped fit it onto Thor, who tolerated the attention with patient dignity. When she finished, the dog shook himself once, settling the vest into place. Lily threw her arms around Thor's neck. "You're a hero," she whispered into his fur. The ceremony continued with remarks from Special Agent Chen, who traveled from the regional FBI office to attend. The Scorpions trafficking network extended across 4 states and had been operating for over 3 years. Thanks to the cooperation between local and federal law enforcement, we've arrested 32 individuals, recovered over $2 million in stolen property, and most importantly, identified and protected 47 children who were being targeted for exploitation. 47 children. Sarah hadn't known the number was that high. Chen concluded her remarks by addressing the crowd directly. If you see something that concerns you, especially regarding children's safety, report it. You might be wrong, that's okay, but you might be right, and that could save a life. After the formal ceremony ended, a reception followed in the adjacent community center. Coffee and pastries. Informal conversation. Children clustered around Thor, asking if they could pet him. Sarah supervised carefully, making sure the dog wasn't overwhelmed, but Thor seemed to enjoy the attention, tail wagging steadily as small hands stroked his fur. An elderly woman approached Sarah. "I'm Mrs. Chen, from the corner store." Sarah recognized her. "You saw Lily almost every day." "I did, and I saw those men watching her. I should have said something." "You didn't know what it meant." "I knew it felt wrong, but I convinced myself it wasn't my business." Mrs. Chen's eyes glistened. "I won't make that mistake again." "None of us will," Sarah said. Throughout the reception, people approached with stories. A teacher who'd noticed a student being followed. A parent who'd seen suspicious vehicles near playgrounds. Each had reported what they'd seen, creating a network of vigilance that hadn't existed before. Lily's courage had catalyzed something larger than one arrest. It had awakened a community's protective instincts. Late in the reception, a man in his 50s approached Sarah. He wore a suit, but moved with the bearing of someone military-trained. "Officer Brennan? I'm Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison, retired." He extended his hand. "I served with your husband in the reserves." Sarah's breath caught. "You knew Daniel?" "For 6 years. He was an exceptional soldier and an even better man." Morrison glanced at Thor. "I heard about what happened. About Thor saving that little girl. Daniel would have been incredibly proud." "Thank you," Sarah managed. "He used to talk about you constantly. About how you were the strongest person he knew. How you inspired him to be better." Morrison pulled something from his pocket. A photograph, creased from years of carrying. "He gave me this before his last deployment. Said if anything happened to him, I should make sure you bought it." The photo showed Daniel in uniform, Thor as a younger dog sitting beside him. On the back, Daniel had written, "Teton, Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone, but Thor isn't. He's got my heart and my courage. Take care of him, and he'll take care of you. You're never alone as long as you have him. Love, D." Sarah's vision blurred. She pressed the photo to her chest. "I'm sorry I took so long to find you," Morrison said. "I only recently heard about the ceremony and tracked you down. No, this is perfect timing. Thank you." After Morrison left, Sarah sat alone for a moment, looking at the photograph. Daniel smiled up at her, forever young, forever brave. Thor in the picture looked so much like Thor now that it created a bridge across the years. Lily appeared beside her. "Are you okay?" Sarah wiped her eyes quickly. "Yes, just remembering someone important." "Your husband?" "Yes." Lily studied the photograph. "Thor looks the same, just a little younger." "He does, doesn't he? Do you think your husband would be happy?" About what Thor did for me? Sarah looked at the girl, at the purple dress and the medal clutched in small hands, at the brightness that had returned to her eyes. I think he'd be incredibly happy. This is exactly what he would have wanted Thor to do. Protect someone who needed protecting. Lily leaned against Sarah's shoulder. I'm glad Thor found us, both of us. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. The reception wound down as afternoon lengthened into evening. Families departed with waves and promises to stay vigilant. City officials congratulated each other on a successful event. Sarah, Elena, and Lily were among the last to leave. They walked together toward the parking lot, Thor trotting between them. Ice cream? Elena suggested. I think we've earned it. Definitely, Lily agreed. They drove to the local ice cream shop, ordered cones, and sat at an outdoor table. Thor positioned himself under the table, accepting small bites of vanilla that Lily offered. What happens now? Elena asked. With the trial and everything? Federal prosecutor says it'll be at least 6 months before trial. But with the evidence they have, most descendants will probably accept plea deals. So Lily might not have to testify again? It's possible, but we prepare as if she will. Lily licked her chocolate cone thoughtfully. I'm not as scared about it now. I know what to expect. That's because you're braver than you think, Sarah said. Or maybe I just have really good backup. They finished their ice cream as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Simple moment, ordinary in the best way. When Sarah dropped them home, Lily hugged Thor extra long. See you Tuesday? Wouldn't miss it, Sarah confirmed. Driving home, Sarah felt a sense of completion she hadn't experienced in years. The case wasn't fully closed. There would be more hearings, more paperwork, more legal proceedings, but the core mission was accomplished. A child was safe. A community was stronger. And Thor had proven once again that some heroes walk on 4 paws. At home, Sarah changed out of her uniform and sat on the couch with Thor. She looked at the photograph Morrison had given her. Daniel's face, his words. You were right, she said aloud to the image. He did take care of me. And together, we took care of her. Thor's tail thumped against the couch cushion. Sarah placed the photograph on the mantel, next to another photo already there. Daniel in his police uniform, young and smiling. Now he'd have the military photo too. Both versions of the man she'd loved. Both connected to the dog who'd carried his legacy forward. Her phone buzzed. Text from Lily. Thank you for everything. You and Thor are my heroes. Sarah typed back. You're ours too. She set the phone aside and scratched Thor's ears. The dog leaned into her touch, eyes half closed in contentment. Outside, Riverside settled into night. Porch lights flickered on. Families gathered for dinner. Children played in yards before bedtime. Normal, safe, protected by people who cared, and dogs who served, and communities that watched out for each other. Sarah had started this journey alone, carrying grief and searching for purpose. She'd found both in unexpected places. In a frightened girl with a purple backpack. In a dog who understood hand signals and human hearts. In a community that learned to see and act instead of looking away. Sometimes the most important rescues aren't about saving someone from immediate danger. They're about teaching people they're worth saving, that they have power, that they're never truly alone. Lily had learned that lesson, and in teaching it, Sarah had learned it too. Thor stretched across the couch, completely relaxed, Medal of Valor vest still in place, hero and companion and friend. Good boy, Sarah whispered, the very best boy. The dog's tail wagged one more time before sleep claimed him. And in that quiet house on a quiet street in a town that had learned to be brave, Officer Sarah Brennan finally felt at peace. Because sometimes heroes don't wear badges. Sometimes they walk on 4 paws, carry ancient loyalty in their hearts, and show us that courage can be taught through love, patience, and the simple act of standing beside someone when they need you most. The story had begun with fear. It ended with hope. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.